What's up, guys, and welcome to another coding tutorial. This is Theo here. As you can see, I have CodeCademy open, so we are going to get started with Introduction to ReactJS Part 1. So let's read this. Welcome to Introduction to ReactJS Part 1. ReactJS is a JavaScript library. It was developed by engineers at Facebook. Here are just a few of the reasons why people choose to program with React. React is fast. Apps made in React can handle complex updates and still feel quick and responsive. React is modular. Instead of writing large, dense files of code, you can write many smaller, reusable files. React's modularity can be a beautiful solution to JavaScript's maintainability problems. React is scalable. Large programs that display a lot of changing data are where React performs best. React is flexible. You can use React for interesting projects that have nothing to do with making a web app. People are still figuring out React's potential. There's more to explore, or there's room to explore. React is popular. While this reason has admittedly little to do with React's quality, the truth is that understanding React will make you more employable. If you are new to React, then this course is for you. No prior React knowledge is expected. We will start at the very beginning and move slowly. If you are new to JavaScript, then consider taking our JavaScript course and then returning to React. The 3 CodeCademy React courses are not a high-level overview. They're a deep dive. Take your time. By the end, you will be ready to program in React with a real understanding of what you're doing. So let's put it to the test. Let's go on to the next one. I've already done a few of these, but let's just see if I can swap this out. So it says, take a look at the following line of code. It sets a variable h1 to h1 tags, and then a literal of hello world. So you might wonder, what is this? It's actually called Jsx. So this is like a hybrid of JavaScript and embedded HTML at the same time. So click run, and let's just see what happens. I think we just get, just a success right now. But basically that's what it is. It allows you to sort of write your template right there in the view. I have mixed feelings about that, but some people like it. Let's move on. So good. Take another look at the line of code you wrote. Does this code belong in a JavaScript file? The answer is it is a JavaScript file, so it's JSX. Despite what it looks like, your code doesn't actually contain any HTML at all. The part that looks like HTML, H1, hello world is something called JSX. So let's see if we can figure out what this JSX business is all about. So let's see. You get it? Okay. JSX is a syntax extension for JavaScript. It was written to be used with React. JSX code looks a lot like HTML, means that JSX is not valid JavaScript, so it has to be compiled. So it takes the JSX compiler and it translates JSX into regular JavaScript. CodeCademy servers already have a JSX compiler installed, so you don't have to worry about that for now. Eventually, we'll walk you through how to set up a compiler on your personal computer. Cool. So let's see. Here's the 5th one. A basic unit of JSX is called a Jsx Element. Here's an example of a Jsx Element. Hello world. Okay, so it looks like HTML. Only noticeable difference is that you would find it in a JavaScript file. Okay. So we're going to write a JSX paragraph element containing the text. So we'll just call it P. And so this is, this is just a node, a pointer to this element that is later going to be compiled. So that's cool. Let's move on to the next thing. JSX elements are treated as JavaScript expressions. They can go anywhere that JavaScript expressions can go. That means that a JSX element can be saved in a variable, passed to a function, stored in an object or array, you name it. Here's an example of a JSX element being saved in a variable, var and navbar, so we're just storing our reusable components in there. Here's an example of several JSX elements being stored in an object, so same way you would create an object. You can, store with keys and values like that, and then you can reference them later, same way you would with an object. So create an article and save it in a variable called myArticle. Pretty easy enough. So let's just run that. Let's see, cool. So 7, JSX elements can have attributes just like HTML elements can. So pretty much now you can see anything you can do with HTML you can do with JSX. JSX attribute is written using HTML-like syntax. A name followed by an equal sign followed by a value. The value should be wrapped in quotes like this. So you might have seen, maybe on like the input, right? How you have like input type equals text. The same is true for this. This is the key, that's the value. So here's a href or title. You just same. You can ID, class, alternate text, width, whatever you want. So we're declaring a variable called p1, and we're setting it equal to a paragraph with an ID of large, and then foo in between it, and then we're creating another one with the ID of small and bar in between it. So that's good. Let's move on. You can nest JSX elements inside of other JSX elements just like in HTML. Here's an example of a JSX H1 element nested inside of a JSX A tag element. So here's a link and then an H1. Cool. To make this more readable, you can use HTML style line breaks. So really, it's just letting you write all of your templating in the view. Pretty cool. Templating in your JavaScript file. So if a Jsx expression takes more than one line, then you should wrap the multi-line Jsx expression in parentheses. This looks strange at first, but you get used to it. It can be saved as variable, so we could store all of this again in a reusable component. Google, so this is just wrapping everything in here. So it says declare a new variable called myDiv, set it equal to a div element, and then we can wrap the div in parentheses, and then we can do this. So we could do we can really just take advantage of this, and I think we run that, because we nested it, it should just work. So let's make sure. Cool. So there's a rule that we haven't mentioned. A Jsx expression must have exactly one outermost element, right? So if we didn't have this div here, there's nothing really that is the root of what's contained inside of here. So this div is think of it like the container. This code will not work again because there's no outermost container. The first opening tag and the final closing tag of a Jsx expression must belong to the same Jsx element. It's easy to forget about this rule and end up with errors that are tough to diagnose. If you notice that a Jsx expression has multiple outer elements, the solution is usually simple. Wrap the Jsx expression in a div. So let's see. Can I reset this? I don't know if I can. But basically, all you had to do here is these divs were out. So you would just wrap everything in an outermost div. So pretty cool. Let's run that, make sure we get it working. Move on to the next one. Cool. So 10. You've learned how to write JSX elements. Now it's time to learn how to render them. To render a JSX expression means to make it appear on screen. The following code will render a JSX expression. React DOM. So this is basically just you're grabbing this JavaScript file, the React DOM, and you're storing it in that variable. And it has a method on it called render. The first parameter will be what you want to render, and the second parameter is where you want to render it. So app. So if we were to look here in the HTML, we can see that we indeed we have a ID with app, so it'll render it in here. So pretty cool. Case sensitive, so that's all it is. We're just rendering this. You can render whatever you want here, and the second parameter is just using simple JavaScript to get this element by ID, and this is where it's going to insert your content. So let's examine the code that you just wrote. Start in previous.js on line 5 all the way to the left. You can see something called React DOM. What's that? React DOM is the name of a JavaScript library. This library contains several React-specific methods, all of which deal with the DOM, the document object model, in some way or another. We'll talk more later about how React DOM got into your file. For now, just understand that it's yours to use. Move slightly to the right and you can see one of React DOM's methods, React DOM.render. React DOM.render is the most common way to render JSX. It takes Jsx expression, creates a corresponding tree of DOM nodes, and adds that tree to the DOM. Basically, it's just inserting that node of content. This is the way to make a Jsx expression appear on screen. Move to the right a little and you come to this expression, hello world. This is your first argument, like I said, being passed the React DOM.render. React DOM.render's first argument should be a Jsx expression, and it will be rendered to the screen. We'll discuss the second argument in the next exercise. So we're just calling render, passing in render me, and then we're passing in this app as the second argument because this is where we want it rendered. So let's move on to the next one. Move to the right a little more, and you will see this expression, document.get element by ID app. Like I've said, I'm not going to read all this, but basically, it just looks for app. Now we're just going to replace it with container, and we should see in here container. So that's where we want it to render it out. So cool. That's all it is. 13. React DOM.render's first argument should evaluate to a Jsx expression. It doesn't have to literally be a Jsx expression. First argument could also be a variable, as long as that variable, holds a pointer to a JSX, template or whatever that you're trying to render out that's JSX. So here we're rendering to-do list because to-do list is, a JSX template. Then we're getting the app. So here we're just making a list. We're rendering the list and we're passing it to the ID of app, which will insert it into the DOM. Pretty cool. 14. One special thing about React DOM.render is that it only updates DOM elements that have changed. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure that's built into React. So it's sort of like Angular with the watches. It's not gonna. It's only gonna update. It's intelligent in that sense. Only updating the necessary DOM elements is a large part of what makes React so successful. So you get a performance boost. So I'm guessing under the hood, it's constantly constantly watching. It has a data structure set up for that. It's dirty checking, I'm guessing. React accomplishes this thanks to something called the virtual DOM. So you can go ahead and read about that. I'm not going to read about that right now. So let's move on. Congratulations, you've learned to create and render JSX elements. This is the first step towards becoming fluent in React. In the next lesson, you'll learn some powerful things that you can do with JSX, as well as some common JSX issues and how to avoid them. So let's just look at what's up next. So it's Advanced JSX. Awesome, guys. I think that's it for this video, but stay tuned and I will do part 2 pretty soon. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see next, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.